What's up, you amazing people? I hope you're having a fantastic day. You are, of course, watching and listening to the Daily Dirty 30, also known as the DDT, here on The Kevin Lee Show. And I am your host, Kevin Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DDT is all about, let me take a moment to explain. You see, it's a show that airs live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and it's where I get to spend 30 minutes telling you, the viewer, all about the things that bother me today. What do I get out of it? That's easy. It's therapeutic. Why should you tune in? That's even easier. It's entertaining. Sound like a fair trade? Good. Let's get to it. Hello, friends, and happy Friday. Sorry about that. I actually had a little premature pressing the button there. I apologize, but I just wanted to say thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope that you're having a good day. It is, of course, time for the Daily Dirty 30 here on The Kevin Lee Show, and if you're not aware, this is the show that airs every weeknight, Monday through Friday, at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And, of course, my name is Kevin. Tonight, we are going to be talking about simply interesting things that I found on the internet today. And we actually have a number of them, so I want to get to it pretty quickly. But that being said, I do want to spend a little bit of time, if you will, talking a little bit more about a couple of things, because it is Friday. So if you're new to the show and you're not aware of how we handle things here every Monday and Friday, typically the bookends of the week, I like to remind people of certain things like our website and all the other podcasts we do, just because it seems easier, seems like a better thing to do. So that way you're not bombarded with it every single day. So, of course, you can always go over to our website. It's thekevinleeshow.com, thekevinleeshow.com. Very simple. And on there, you're going to find links to not only this podcast, but you'll find links to my other weekly podcast I do called The Libertarian Hour, which airs Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can actually join us again tomorrow right on this channel, and you'll be able to watch it or listen to. You can always check it out over there. We also have the Whatever with Kevin. That is another podcast that I do, but I haven't actually done one in a while. So I think maybe possibly this Sunday, I might just do a surprise, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour episode of Whatever with Kevin. If you haven't seen it before, prepare yourself. It's rather interesting, usually. I usually have guests on and we talk and we have a good time. And usually there's some alcohol involved and whatever else. So, good times. Good times indeed. But, we got that stuff out of the way. Let's get right to our stories of the day. First up is going to be where we talk about, I'll just say it. Her name is Rose McGowan. She is actually well known throughout her acting career as not only in her acting career, but outside of her acting career as an activist. She's pretty much been known to be fairly far left. To her credit, she was one of the very first women who started raising attention to the issues and scandals of sexual abuse and assault that goes on in Hollywood. She was one of the front runners of the Me Too movement. And to her credit, she deserves to be recognized for that. That being said, there's a number of people who aren't very happy with her lately, and those people happen to be people on the left. The reason why I say this is because, I'll just show you. Rose McGowan, here is a tweet from her that was from yesterday. I will read it for everyone because some people are actually listening to this on a podcast and obviously will not be able to see it. So I will try to read everything and make it crystal clear for everybody. It says, "You are the season of darkness. At Joe Biden, at DNC. You are monsters. You are frauds. You are the lie." Okay, so she's not mincing words in any way, shape, or form. She seems pretty determined to communicate it is what she is. She apparently has an issue with Joe Biden and currently with the DNC, calling them monsters and frauds and that you are the lie. So without getting too political, because it's Friday and I don't really feel like getting political because, let's face it, we need at least one day out of the week where things aren't political. Okay, I do a political show about libertarianism on Saturday. Almost every headline, at least one headline, if not most of the headlines we cover during the week, typically are politically charged because we are in a political season right now. We are in the midst of trying to elect a new president or re-elect our current president, what have you. We're about to go through a big election cycle, our 4-year presidential election cycle. So there's going to be a lot of headlines about politics. I don't want to talk about politics every minute of the day. Absolutely, positively do not. Um, but again, we have to talk a little bit about politics because what she's referencing here is Joe Biden has had a number of, I don't know if I want to call them accusers, because I don't know if anyone's actually officially accused him, generally speaking, of being inappropriate. But many people have seen the videos and the photos of Joe Biden giving extra long hugs, coming up behind women, even young women for that matter, and just, well, it makes for very peculiar imagery. He'll grab people's shoulders. He'll dig his nose into their hair and sniff their hair or give them a kiss on the head. He doesn't even know these people. And maybe he's being genuinely nice. Maybe he's just the way he is. But by most standards, that's kind of creepy, right? And he's been doing this for a very long time. This is nothing new. He's been doing it for decades, literally. And there's hundreds, if not more, pieces of proof about this. Well, there's also another woman named Tara Reid. Tara Reid actually accused him of not only sexual assault, but technically it would be rape. She brought it up at least to some extent back in the day. Maybe she didn't bring it up to the extent she should have, but she brought it up to the extent far more than most people do. She talked about it to many people. She talked about it to friends, neighbors, family. Her mother even went on Larry King and talked about it. So it wasn't like it wasn't an issue for her at the time where she tried to hide it or she's trying to bring it up decades later. So obviously Rose McGowan, who is a fighter for anybody really, not even just women, but anyone who's been sexually assaulted, she would have their back, and she feels that people are not holding the same standards. People are being hypocrites, if you will, when it comes to Joe Biden, because right now he's running for president, and everyone on the left and all the Democrats seem perfectly happy with Joe Biden, even though he has done many questionable things and maybe even done something terrible. No one seems to want to talk about it. They say it's a non-story, but is it really a non-story? Furthermore, so she had this one tweet, and then later on the same day, she had another tweet. It says, "What have the Democrats done to solve anything? Help the poor? No. Help black and brown people? No. Stop police brutality? No. Help single mothers? No. Help children? No. You have achieved nothing. Nothing. Why did people vote Trump? Because of you." And I'm going to say what the tweet says. She wrote, "Because of you motherfuckers." So there you go. There's your late warning that there was going to be cursing. So I'll put the explicit tag on the podcast so everyone can know. But yeah, so she's obviously very upset. But you know what? Just reading these last two tweets, there isn't really much from my perspective as more of a libertarian-minded person. Not even necessarily libertarian, but it's a libertarian-minded person. I can't disagree with anything she said. Right? I mean, can you give me one argument? If you find one argument right now, mention in the comments. Comment over to me, and I'll put you on the screen. We'll talk about it, because I can't think of a single thing that is wrong with her argument here. And furthermore, we have headlines like this that popped out soon afterwards. From Newsweek, is Rose McGowan Republican? Actor calls Biden and Democrats monsters and frauds. Because, of course, anyone who would criticize Joe Biden or the DNC about not fulfilling and living out the claims and the positions that they say that they have is obviously must be a Republican, must be a Trump supporter. Trust me, Rose McGowan is not by nature a Trump supporter. I'm sure she hates Trump even more than she hates Biden. Well, maybe. But probably nearly as much or close, or somewhere on the same level. Obviously, there's been a lot of accusations against Trump, right? So it's not like he's innocent in all this. I'm not saying that he's guilty of any of those things, but I'm just saying it's not that, he got clean hands necessarily. And obviously, if Rose McGowan is who she is, and she fights for the small guy or small whatever gal, however you want to put it, and she wants to make sure that voices are heard, especially those who are sexually assaulted victims, then she's going to have problems with Joe Biden. Sorry, just the way it works. I mean, I really don't understand how people could disagree with her statement on this. I can understand people don't want to have her bring this up because it looks bad. It's not even just optics. It's if this information continues to be talked about, if more people start coming forward, what's that going to mean for the Democrats? What's that going to mean for the election? What's that, So I understand, but we shouldn't bring politics into it, right? She is very angry about it. She's voicing her opinion. That's what social media is for, is to go out there and state what you think or believe. And again, from what she said in those tweets, I can't argue with her. So sorry. And last but not least, there's another article that was written about her, not recently, but earlier this year in April, almost in May. It says, this is deeper than a cover-up. Rose McGowan denounces Democratic Party, calls the media a cult. So is she a Republican? I seriously doubt it. Is she a Trump supporter? I seriously doubt it. Is she still someone who is probably more liberal or towards left on the spectrum? I would assume so. That being said, she's also someone who's being honest. She's looking ahead at the Democratic Party and denouncing their behavior, denouncing the fact that they're supporting and promoting candidates who she thinks are disgusting. And she's calling the media a cult. And I'm sorry, you can't argue with that statement. The media is a cult. If you were to talk to in private or befriend most people you see on the TV, cable news, CNN, Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, even over on Fox News, and you were to become friends with them, I can guarantee you the person that you see on TV is not the person that you're going to be friends with. You know, there's some dirty secrets out there people don't realize. Boy, what's her name now? My goodness, I had a brain fart. I gotta stop doing these podcasts so late. I'm always so tired. But Tucker Carlson and the chick from MSNBC, oh my God, I can't think of her name. But they're actually good friends. They actually used to work together, and she used to work underneath him. And now, if you were to see them apart, you would think there's no way in the world those people would even give each other the time of day. But yet they're still friendly, because guess what? They're all in the same boat. They're all in the media. They're all trying to sell you a story, and they're going to do it whichever way they see it best fits their abilities, right? Their opportunities. It is a cult. They will team up together and they will decide that they're going to destroy somebody or lift something up or do something to change the way that things are. It's just the way media is. Sorry, but it's just the way it is. Enough with Rose McGowan. But I just thought if you haven't heard the story, it's something interesting to look into. Next, we are going to be talking about Aunt Becky. You might remember her from Full House. Now she's going to the big house. I know that's corny. I'm sorry. I'm a dad. It's a dad joke. Get over it. So Lori Loughlin, which is her real name, was sentenced today to 2 months in prison for the college admission scam that she was involved in. Her husband, and this is an odd name. I mean, it's odd to me. It's not odd to the people in the world. But his name is Massimo Giannulli. Something like that. And he got 5 months. So she got 2 months. He got 5 months. We'll read down here a little bit. It says Loughlin will also serve 2 years of supervised release, which is basically probation, during which she must perform 100 hours of community service and pay a fine of $150,000. According to the U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, she was sentenced just hours after Giannulli, or I could have said her husband, who received 5 months in prison, a $250,000 fine, 2 years of supervised release, and 250 hours of community service. Both must surrender to the U.S. Bureau of Prisons before 2 p.m. on November 19th. So right before Thanksgiving. Yay. That is pretty crazy. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this story, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but basically what happened is they committed fraud. They wanted to get their daughters into a college, a very specific college. I believe it was UCLA, if I'm not mistaken. And they basically bribed the university or what have you, the admissions, to get their kids in, or one of the kids in. And they got caught. And they're going to be spending time in jail, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, doing hundreds of hours of community service, and spending years on probation. Really? There are people who commit violent crimes who don't get this kind of sentence. I understand you want to make an example of people, but that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for the judicial system. And I can say, well, there were victims. People didn't get into college because of them. There's lots of colleges out there. There's literally thousands upon thousands of colleges. If you don't get into one college, you can get into another one. Just that simple. And again, I'm not justifying this behavior either. I'm not saying it's a good idea or we should reward people for behaving like this. We shouldn't. And they should be punished. But jail time? Really? Years of probation? Really? I certainly hope that people that they were paying off got 5 times the amount of prison time that they did. And if they didn't, then that's a crime. Sorry, it is. Just terrible. Just terrible. Absolutely embarrassing. So yeah, that's Aunt Becky. Never going to watch Full House the same way, huh? Now we're going to talk about a story which kind of involves something we talked about the other day about the United States Postal Service. The Postmaster General, I can't remember his, you'll notice if you watch enough of these episodes, or listen to enough of them, you'll realize I'm terrible with names. I believe his name was Louis, not sure. DeRoy, something like that. He is a new Postmaster General, a newer Postmaster General. And he was brought on board because he's a businessman and he's good at rehabbing businesses and companies. The USPS is in terrible shape. So they had plans that they set out earlier that they were going to make some major changes. They were going to remove some boxes. They were going to spend some money on revamping certain areas, but then taking money from other areas, possibly cutting down the number of post office or the hours that they work, just because they are literally billions of dollars in debt. It's not a bad idea. Well, apparently, Rand Paul was part of the interview today when I believe his name is, again, DeRoy, was appearing before a Senate committee testifying about what changes were being made and why they're deciding not to. And apparently people, certain people, I guess, did not like the fact that Rand Paul was making certain comments that he was making. And all of a sudden he was trending on Twitter and what have you. And at first I wasn't sure why. And then I started seeing tweets and I saw these tweets and they kind of confused me at first. And maybe you'll see why here in a second. So here's one of the tweets. It says, I'm going to read it again. It's going to have some cursing in there. Sorry if you don't like curse words. It says, Rand Paul is an asshole. We all know this. He wants USPS employees to lose their jobs. He also doesn't care about veterans and the elderly receiving their medications. Now, as we covered the other day, veterans aren't losing their jobs. The elderly aren't being kept from their medications. Everything's being fine. Everything's being delivered just fine. And as we spoke about the other day, the U.S. Post Office delivers 471 million pieces of mail every day, and they're fully funded throughout the rest of 2020. This is a nonsense talking point that many people on the Democratic side, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, have been espousing over and over again recently, trying to spread out these words which aren't true. Okay, this isn't going to affect anyone directly right now, at least, about losing jobs. It isn't about, elderly not receiving their medications. It's just absolutely not. It's nonsense. This is a nonsense tweet. But don't worry, they get worse. Next is going to be this one. Why do you think Trump picked Rand Paul to hand deliver that private letter personally to Putin? It appears to me Putin would also have to trust Paul for that kind of contact. Okay. This is just an insane person. I'm sorry. This is just absolutely insane. There are so many conspiracy theorists out there, and I know they've always existed. I've been talking to them for years and with them because I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm not saying that conspiracies can never exist or never have. They absolutely have. Look, Lincoln got assassinated. That was a conspiracy. People conspired to assassinate him, and there's been many of other things that have happened. I'm sure the FBI and CIA have done things. Who knows? I'm not saying things don't exist, but this is a conspiracy theory, and this is a conspiracy theorist. Must be, because this is nonsense talk. What she's actually referencing, and why this is brought up today, I have no idea. It doesn't make absolutely any sense. But here's what they were talking about. This is a tweet from 2 years ago, almost to the day, August of 2018. Rand Paul said, I was honored to deliver a letter from President Trump to President Vladimir Putin's administration. The letter emphasized the importance of further engagement in various areas, including countering terrorism, enhancing legislative dialogue, and resuming cultural exchanges. So he was on a diplomatic trip, and he was traveling to Russia. Senators do this all the time. Representatives do a little bit of it, but not so much. That's why there's a higher house and a lower house. That's why there's lots of people in the U.S. House of Representatives, but not so many in senators. Senators are considered to be a higher class of congressmen. Not my words, just the way it works. And many times, often, senators travel around the world meeting with presidents, prime ministers, different administrations, making appearances, doing, peace tours. I mean, just everything. So Paul was part of this delegate that was traveling to meet with the Russian administration, and he, as a part of his job, he delivered this letter. It's all politics. It's just for optics. Just waste time. And he openly talked about it. It was nothing secret, nothing weird. But then again, you have this other lady. This one here. Just people have lost their absolute minds. Is it just me? Why does everything have to be the end of the world? Why does everything have to be a conspiracy? Why does everyone have to be lying? They're not. This stuff is just so ridiculous. But anyways, furthermore, there was more criticism of Rand Paul about the United States Postal Service. At least we got back on track. This is from another person who said, so Rand Paul wants to cut days, hours, and numbers of employees for the post office. Well, of course he does. He's a libertarian. Libertarians believe that almost everything should be privatized, including the post office. And then she went on to say, that seems reasonable for a country with an unemployment rate at 14% and thousands of veterans who are employed, again, talking points of the left, by the post office and depend on the post office. Listen, the United States Postal Service is in serious trouble. I don't know if you've noticed, but you hear a lot of things in the news about how the post office doesn't seem to have money. They don't have money going forward. They don't have money for improvements. Yet they charge, was it 55 cents a stamp? And they move 471 million pieces of mail and parcels. And some of that stuff costs $10, $15, $20, $30 to ship. So they're making literally, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars a day. And yet they're billions of dollars in debt. So they're not doing very well. We can't just keep throwing money and bailing out the post office or other agencies or other companies or industries. It's not what the United States government is for. Again, if you want to learn more about this, again, I don't want to get too political. I want to keep it a little bit more upbeat. So let's not get too political. But if you want to learn more about this type of understanding, then join me tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow would be a good one. Well, next week, I think after that might be better. But tomorrow will be good. You'll understand more of a libertarian-minded person, and you'll learn what it means to be responsible to have self-ownership, to not rely on someone else to take care of you. It's called being an adult, but apparently we don't have many of those in America anymore. But let's break this down a little bit more because I actually have some things to back this up. So if you've never heard, there's something called the GAO. It's the United States Government Accountability Office. And they do a lot of reporting on, financial viability of different departments, different organizations within the government, CIA, FBI, the U.S. Postal Service. And here's a report talking about the United States Postal Service's financial viability continues to be a high risk because the USPS cannot fund its current level of services and financial obligations from its revenues. As stated in GAO's 2019 high-risk update, USPS faces financial challenges that include the following. Poor financial situation. USPS's overall financial condition is deteriorating and unsustainable. Unsustainable. USPS has lost, now listen to this. Okay, you think I'm making this number up? I'm not. The United States Postal Service has lost $69 billion over the last 11 fiscal years, including $3.9 billion in fiscal year 2018. USPS's total unfunded liabilities and debt is $143 billion at the end of fiscal, and that was at the end of fiscal year 2018. That's almost 2 years ago, and they're running a deficit every year. So they're way over $143 billion in debt. They have insufficient cost savings, unfavorable trends. It's just really not a good thing. And here's a quick little chart. It'll show that the USPS unfunded liabilities and debt as a percentage of USPS revenue from fiscal years 2007 to 2008. So their unfunded liabilities and debts were nearly 100%. We're at 99% in 2007. Last year on record, 2018, they were 202%, running 202% of unfunded liabilities and debt. You think that's sustainable? You think that's okay? You think we should just let things go as it is or just keep bailing them out? No. Changes have to happen. Major changes have to happen. And that was what they were starting to implement with this change, with this new, person directing and running the post office, Postmaster General. Again, DeRoy, I believe his name is. Now, obviously, they don't like the optics of what it looks like because we're going through this election. There's going to be mail-in balloting, even though we only know it's going to be an additional 100 to 150 million pieces of mail going out and 150 to or so million pieces coming back in, and yet they do 471 million every day of the week. So it's not that big of a burden. But, whatever. Whatever you need to help your side, you know what I mean? But I want to close out by saying this last little bit here. It says, further, USPS has missed, listen to this very clearly. I'm going to speak loud and I'm going to speak slowly so nobody misses this. In fact, I think I'm even going to go full screen so everyone can see this. Further, USPS has missed $48.2 billion in required payments for postal retiree health and pension benefits as of September 30th, 2018. They've missed $48.2 billion in required payments for postal retiree health and pension benefits as of September 30th, 2018. This includes $42.6 billion in missed payments for retiree health benefits since fiscal year 2010 and $5.6 billion in missed payments for pensions benefits since fiscal year 2014. It says if USPS does not make any more payments for retiree health benefits, the fund supporting these benefits is projected by the Office of Personnel Management to be depleted in fiscal year 2030. That's 10 years away. Gone. Out of it. They literally will be bankrupt. Everyone that was planned and expected and promised a pension will not have one. None of this will happen unless they make major changes now. Now, the Postmaster General has already agreed to postpone until after the election before making these changes, but your post office is going to change. Simple as that. Hours are going to be cut. Locations are going to be cut. It's just the way it works. It's a business. At the end of the day, if you can't run a balanced ledger, you're never going to stay in business. Sorry, just the way it works. All righty. I have one little quick special thing that I had to share with you guys. I saw this pretty much towards the end when I was getting ready this evening, and I saw something that just blew my mind. Okay. You're not going to believe this. Trust me. You're not going to believe this. I'm going to read this to you very quickly. School district making parents sign waiver agreeing not to monitor virtual instruction. Did you catch that? School district making parents sign waiver agreeing not to monitor virtual instruction. Now, can you give me one legitimate reason why a school district would force parents to sign a waiver agreeing not to monitor their children's virtual instruction? Just one. Just give me one legitimate reason. Just one. I'll wait. Says the school district in Tennessee is asking parents to sign a form agreeing not to monitor their children's virtual classrooms over concerns that non-student observers could overhear confidential information. That's their entire basis for it. This school district in Tennessee is stating that parents should not monitor their children's virtual classroom over a concern that non-student observers, being the parents, could overhear confidential information. Now, if your child's just in class doing school, what kind of confidential information are they going to overhear? Go ahead, tell me. I'm waiting. That's right. Nothing. Nothing's going to fall into this category. It's ridiculous. Obviously, for legal purposes, they know that they say things in school that they probably shouldn't, and they don't want to be caught red-handed or have from a parent that it's actually occurring, and that's why they don't want you to be able to watch. If you're in this district or if you're in a place where they're trying to introduce this kind of crap, do me a favor, make us think about it and say no. Anyways, everyone, it is Friday night. It's the end of Friday. It's the end of the week, and it's the end of the Daily Dirty 30 for us this week. We'll be back next Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and don't forget to check out the Libertarian Hour tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. And of course, you can always watch all these on replay. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, you name it. Go look, you'll find us. And of course, we're also on audio podcast, and you can find all these links over at thekevinleeshow.com. That's thekevinleeshow.com. But that's it for us. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.